Welcome back to 5 Minute Photo. I'm Bill Ferris. In these videos, it's my goal to share with you in 5 minutes or less tips and information you can use to get more enjoyment from your photography. In this video, we're going to review Nikon's 16 to 35mm f4 wide-angle zoom lens. This is a lens that I've had for about 6 months. I purchased it for my Nikon D600 camera body, and I chose this lens for a couple of reasons. One, it was more in my budget. Of course, the Nikon 14 to 24mm ultra wide angle zoom lens has a reputation as just an outstanding piece of glass. It's also fairly pricey, very pricey, I think it would be fair to say. This lens is not as fast, obviously, as the 14 to 24. The 14 to 24 is an f2.8. This is a f4 throughout its zoom range. The other lens I looked at was the Tokina 16 to 28 f2.8 zoom lens. And in fact, for a long time, I was leaning towards the Tokina. However, it was never in stock. I was on the waiting list at a couple of online retailers, and it just never became available to purchase. Now, I am primarily a landscape photographer, and so ultimately I came to the decision that although it's only an f4, it's not as fast as the Tokina at f2.8. I typically shoot my landscapes in a range of f9 to f16, and so an f4 lens, that wasn't going to be a concern for me. And the price was right. This lens today retails for about $1,250 US through reputable online retailers. So ultimately, I purchased this lens. As I mentioned, I've had it for 6 months, and I've taken about 1,000 exposures with the lens. So let's take a look at some of those shots and talk about how this lens has been performing for me. You'll see in this collection a combination of landscape photos, architectural photographs, as well as even a portrait shot from my niece's wedding earlier this year. This shot inside the Kiva at Mesa Verde National Park. It's Bruce Tree House. This was at wide open at 16mm, and I needed every bit of that wide angle view in order to get this shot. These other shots taken inside the Wisconsin State Capitol and also Milwaukee's historic Pfister Hotel. Here's a shot from inside Pueblo Bonito at Chaco Culture National Historical Monument in New Mexico. Again, a confined space. You needed every bit of that 16mm wide angle view in order to get this shot. And here's a photograph of the White House ruin, and it's an iconic image of an ancient Puebloan ruin in a cliff face. So what can I say? I think the pictures tell the story. This lens has been just a real workhorse for me. A great performer, extremely high quality. Autofocus works great. It also has vibration reduction, and that was another selling point for this lens, as to have vibration reduction. Not so much for the tripod mounted landscapes, but well, in Antelope Canyon, as I mentioned, those shots were handheld. Vibration reduction was critical. Shooting video with this lens, vibration reduction makes hand holding and getting steady video possible. So the bottom line for me is if you're in the market for an ultra wide angle zoom lens for landscapes, for architectural shooting, and you're a Nikon shooter, this 16 to 35mm f4 is just an outstanding value, and I would encourage you to give it serious consideration. Thank you for watching. I'm Bill Ferris, and I'll see you next time on 5 Minute Photo.